Michigan Wolverines against the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, 7 p.m. on Big Ten Network. So you can go right from watching the Michigan State game, give yourself a little break, don't even have to change the channel. And then your Michigan Wolverines showing up, taking on Hawaii. A 51.5-point spread, Ryan. Ridiculous. Like the largest spread in Michigan football history against these Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, and with good reason, because just like Michigan State starting their season with back-to-back MAC opponents, Michigan opening their season with back-to-back Mountain West teams. And the Rainbow Warriors, rough start for them. They're 0-2. They've been outscored, Ryan, by Vanderbilt and Western Kentucky, 112-17.
I mean, yeah, Vanderbilt beat them by this spread, 63-10. So there's no reason to think that I guess Michigan can't. I will say something for everybody out there is Matt is in Central Time Zone, so that is Eastern Time. If you are listening in Eastern Time, it's 8 o'clock. Matt's just in the Central, but it is 8 o'clock Eastern that Michigan plays. No, you're good. I just didn't want anybody to be in the comments Saturday at 7. Like, you MFer, you told me. So for Matt, it's at 7. For us, it's 8.
So we got 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock for Michigan State and Michigan games. Not 3 and 7.
You're fine. I just want to make that correction. I mean, Michigan's going to blow the doors off Hawaii, just like Vanderbilt did, just like Western Kentucky did. It's an enormous spread, obviously, 51.5. And JJ McCarthy is starting this game. Cade McNamara is still going to play, but it's going to be interesting to see kind of how they. How differently they call the game. You know, last week Cade only threw 18 passes. Is it because he looked so bad that they only gave him 18? Was the plan to give him 25? And then he started off 1 for 6, and they were like, all right, we're not going to do that anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see not how JJ plays, because I think everybody thinks he's going to play amazing, right, because it's against Hawaii. And if he doesn't, then it's just another whole can of worms that Michigan has to deal with. But they shouldn't have any problem at all with Hawaii. I will say, and I guess it doesn't have any relevance, it's just an interesting tidbit. Their last biggest spread was against UMass, where they were 45.5-point favorites or something, in the Rich Rod era, 2010, and they won that game, I think, 52-47, or 42-37, something like that. They won by a very close margin, not even close to what the spread was. I don't foresee that happening this game, outside of course, what happened last week. Michigan under Jim Harbaugh just feast on these cupcakes. Like, honestly, they're probably better against the spread versus these cupcake teams than anybody else in the country, because Michigan always blows them out. And I think they'll stick probably to a heavy running game. Again, I think they'll let JJ show off his arm a little bit, but JJ can also stick to the running game and be just fine. And Hawaii, of course, doesn't have the ability to compete with that. And then you're throwing into the fact that it is Ann Arbor at night. I think most Michigan fans want JJ McCarthy to play and obviously play well. So there's just going to be more electricity in the air and in the atmosphere than there would be on a typical night game against some scrub team. I actually think the Big House is going to be pretty lit come Saturday night, and I think Michigan's going to take full advantage of that and put just a monster beat down on Hawaii.
Look, I hope it's lit at the Big House, especially for the Hawaii fans, because this is a team right now. Look, Hawaii Stadium is being rebuilt, so they're playing in a stadium that holds 9,000 people. It's literally the smallest in college football, okay? And now you're going to literally the biggest in college football. So this is a rare experience for Hawaii to get to be in the situation. And so I hope for them, I hope it's packed, I hope it's rocking, I hope they get to be there and see just, what football can really be with a huge, full, sold-out stadium. It's going to be interesting to see exactly what you were talking about with the Michigan offense, because you have a quarterback competition, but Michigan could literally run the ball every single down and roll over Hawaii. They could run for 350 yards and have no problems and win this game easily. You're testing your quarterbacks. That's what Jim's doing here. He wants to see what these guys can bring to the table before they get to the real competition. So are you going to force the issue and force passing down so that JJ can show what he's got versus Cade showing what he's got? or because this game's not. There's no. I don't care if Hawaii takes the opening kickoff for a touchdown and then scoops up a fumble on the very next play by Michigan and starts off 14-0. They're not winning this football game. They wouldn't win, and it's not going to be
in
close.
that scenario, if they did get 14-0, or if they just scored 14 in general, then for Michigan to cover the spread, you're asking them to score 70 points, which is like
okay. Let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. Do you think Michigan's covering this 51.5 points?
So
this is a big spread. 51.5 points.
10 points.
I don't either.
You need to score 62. Not that Michigan can't, because Vanderbilt scored 63, but there's only so much time in a football game.
And there's also the mentality of coaches, who look. We've got them beat 48-3, and there's 6 minutes left in the game. Like, are you really going for touchdowns at that point just to beat a spread? Now, look, defensive players, they scoop up a fumble, return it for a touchdown. They pick off a pass, return it for a touchdown. Things happen where you can get extra touchdowns in the end of games when it's already blown out and it's over. But offensively, if you have the ball, you're generally not trying to do that to a lesser opponent and just absolutely embarrass them.
So, Michigan could play their backups the whole game and still win this game by 3 or 4 touchdowns. I wouldn't pick them to cover the number, though. That number's so stupid. 51.5.
I think you're there's no reason to, there's just crazy football things that have to happen in my mind for you to cover this spread where you have just beaten your opponent so badly you still wanted to score a few more points just to get over the 51.5 number. It just seems wrong to me that they would cover this spread from a normal
Cade
football
comes
game
in
point
and they're
of view.
up 35-0 and he just wants to throw 5 touchdowns himself. Say, hey, look at me. And they go up 70-7. That's a feasible
answer, actually. So if JJ does his job, and at halftime it is exactly what you said, it is 35-0. JJ threw for 3 of the touchdowns, and they ran for the other ones. Maybe the defense got one, and it's over already at halftime. All right, JJ, you did your job. Good job. We're putting Cade in, and Cade knows he's fighting for his spot now. That's a reasonable answer as far as why they would continue to push the score.
It is, but I still feel like it's kind of a joke because I do feel like if Cade went in there, obviously they would call run plays. They'd be like, hey, this is what we're doing for the most part. And if he audibles out of too many of them, I think Jim would just pull him and be like, all right, we're not doing this. We're not going streaks. Bring yourself back in.
Right. Timmy Chang would have to have said something before this game to just besmirch Harbaugh, besmirch Michigan, to cause them to be that much of a prick that they're just going to keep running the score up. It can be done, but I don't think. First of all, I don't see that from Timmy Chang, and I just
78-0.
I just don't see it happen.
4 or 5 years ago or something. So it can be done, and Michigan's done it before, but I don't expect it.
Yeah, I don't. Well, and so let's give some of the. I don't even know. There's nothing to give. The Rainbow Warriors.
They might be the worst team.
Everybody. They hated their former head coach, so all the players left.
They actually might be.
Yeah,
they're really bad.
The whole team hated the old head coach so much. They all went to the transfer portal, basically. And so Timmy Chang came with nothing. They completely replaced their secondary. There's no returning starters there whatsoever. Their strength of their team is their offensive line. That might be the strength of your team in the Mountain West. It's not the strength of your team against Michigan's run defense. It's not happening. They're their front seven. You're not. Yeah, they had 7 sacks just like Michigan State did last week, and so they're going to do the same thing this week if they want to. There's no reason. They don't know who their quarterback is. They go back and forth between 2 guys, Braden Shager and Joey Ellen. Neither one has been great. One threw for 230 yards and 4 interceptions. The other one threw the ball 11 times for 1 pick. There's just nothing there. They have a running back who's not bad. He's rushed it 28 times for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns through the first 2 games, but they don't. There's nothing. There's nothing for Hawaii yet. It's a whole new regime all over the board. So there's no reason to think this team's going to do anything. So let's get to over-under. We're doing the same thing for the Michigan Wolverines. So this one, a little bit more run-oriented than the Michigan State one as far as numbers we're looking at. So Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, 1.5 touchdowns for each of them, over-under.
Each.
Well, you can do it. They're individual over-unders. Just the number's the same. You can say over for one and under for the other. My bad. No, the number's the same for both. 1.5 touchdowns for Blake, 1.5 touchdowns for Donovan.
Man, I'll go over for Edwards, under for Corum.
Ha! I'm going to flip it on you. That's exactly what I was thinking. Great. Good job. All right. I'm going to go over for Corum and under for Edwards. All right. 2.5 touchdowns total for JJ McCarthy.
I think he's going to want to show. Yeah, I think.
Between passing and
running?
running?
The first 5 touchdowns, there might be 4 passing touchdowns.
I agree. 175 passing yards for JJ. Okay. 135 passing yards for Cade. And then same number for Michigan as the Michigan State defense, 5.5 sacks. All right. And then I don't know about you. We've talked about this already, but I'm going to go 51-6. They beat the hell out of Hawaii, but they don't cover that 51.5 points.
Yeah, I don't know. 63-14.
2 field goals for Hawaii.
They don't cover the spread.
Hey, you're giving Hawaii a chance to
They're
score some points.
weird.
Good for you.
A fumble at the 10-yard line when they're down 28-3.
Yeah, it's going to be ugly. Again, though, I hope the fans show up for this game. I hope they pack the house because this is a rare occurrence for Hawaii to play in a stadium as iconic as this one is. It's the biggest one in all of college football. 110+ thousand people. Like, they don't get that chance very often. You're not the Mountain West, certainly not. Maybe they're playing someone out of the pack, but even the Rose Bowl's not that big. The Coliseum's not that big. Like, you're not getting this chance very often. So, well, I mean, I don't. You think the crowd's gonna be that mean against Hawaii? Like, there's no reason. They should be like golf clapping for Hawaii if they get a first down.
The big house crowd.
This game's gonna be ugly.
I guess isn't that intimidating. I'm not gonna feel too bad for these kids though. They still get to go to school in Hawaii, so they got that going for them.
True story.
Hey, Ryan Griffin here. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of Griffin and Bass. Be sure to give us your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to click the bell to receive the latest notifications from DSN and subscribe for breaking news, community blogs, polls, contests, and other content.